Welcome back, my spellcasting sisters and my moonbathing brothers, to another episode of Anonymous Crone. I'm your hostess with the mostest, the Anonymous Crone herself. And tonight, we're stepping through one of the oldest magical doorways humanity has ever known, the Dream Realm. This is part one of a two-part series. We're going to be talking about dreams. Dreams are weird. They've always been weird, and for thousands of years, people have been trying to understand them. Way before psychologists, therapists, and sleep studies, there were witches, shamans, healers, mystics, and even temple priests helping to navigate the dream world. Dream interpretation is not new. It's been around since humans have been around, and it's one of the oldest spiritual practices on Earth. Egyptians believed dreams could contain warnings, guidance, healing, and messages from the gods. Then came the Greeks. The Greeks practically turned dream work into an industry. People would travel to healing temples dedicated to Asclepius, the god of healing. They would purify themselves, sleep inside sacred chambers, and wait for dreams that might reveal cures or guidance or wisdom. The fascinating thing about dream incubation, which is the intentional practice of seeking guidance through dreams, has existed in one form or another across nearly every culture on Earth. Shamans around the world entered altered states to seek information through dreams and visions. And the question has never really been whether dreams matter. The question's always been, why? Why do dreams feel important? Why do dreams stay with us for years? Why do some dreams feel more real than waking life? And why do people from completely different cultures report surprisingly similar experiences? And most importantly, why have witches always been so damn good at understanding them? Now, before someone sends me an email explaining exactly what part of the brain activates during REM sleep, relax, we're going to talk about science too. Something that drives me absolutely insane is people often act like science and spirituality are locked in the same eternal cage match, as though one must destroy the other. But most of the time, they're just asking different questions. Science studies the mechanics, and spirituality studies the meaning. Science can tell us what happened in the brain during a dream, and spirituality can ask why your dead aunt appeared carrying a trout while speaking fluid French. Different questions, both interesting. Modern neuroscience tells us that dreams play a very important role in memory consolidation and emotional processing, plays a role in learning and psychological regulation. In other words, your brain is just doing housekeeping. Ancient cultures, however, believed that something more was occurring. Some believe the soul traveled during sleep. Some believe spirits communicated through dreams. Some believe our ancestors visited the living. Others believe gods and goddesses delivered messages while the conscious mind rested. Many shamans view dreams as journeys into spiritual realms. And even today, plenty of modern practitioners still believe exactly that. Now, whether you view dreams as psychological or spiritual, or a little bit of both, one thing is true. Dreams speak a language unlike ordinary reality. Everything becomes symbolism. Water becomes emotion. Fire becomes transformation. Doors become opportunities. Houses become reflection of yourself. Roads become life paths. Animals become instinct. The language is older than the words, and witches have been studying that language for a very long time. So there's something that I'm going to share with the world. Not a whole lot of people know this about me. This is the origins of my path to my path. Now that I think about it, I really don't think my kids know the full story. And the story I'm about to tell you, albeit very personal, is the reason I wrote this particular topic on the podcast. I'm going to tell you a story that changed my life. This is absolutely 150% true. Years ago, and I'm talking late 90s, there were 5 of us. 5 young women connected through mutual friends. Friends who drank together, friends who talked about weird things, friends who occasionally played with the Ouija board just because apparently none of us possessed a healthy sense of self-preservation, and as you may have guessed, some strange things began happening. The five of us gradually became closer, and then started the dreams. At first, we didn't even realize what was happening. We'd casually mention dreams, odd symbols, random images. Then one night, we started comparing notes and suddenly realized something. We were all having the exact same dream. We were having different pieces of the same dream. And that realization changed everything. The dreams became stronger, more vivid, more focused. Each of us found ourselves drawn toward a particular object. Okay, so I'm reading this just so I can get this out, because when I think about what happened, I'm just full of emotion. So what I did is I wrote it down and I'm reading it, and you can probably tell I'm reading it. But the dreams were crazy. Like, we were, at first it started off the exact same dream. And then we'd have the same dream, but it would veer off in different paths, and the paths were all different to each of us. So let me get back to my script. It was kind of like we were each being handed a different piece of a puzzle. In my dreams, I kept seeing a long wooden object. And if you heard any previous episodes of mine, you know what I'm talking about. It was a staff. Not straight, very crooked, very old looking, like hard driftwood. And it was so powerful in my dream. Like, I was drawn to it. And the image repeated over and over again. One day, I kind of walked outside in my backyard, and there it was, just laying there for me to find. A naturally crooked staff that looked exactly like the one I had been dreaming about. And it gets a little weirder because I realized that I wasn't the only one receiving something through the dreams. One of the other girls kept dreaming about a knife. Not just any knife, though, like a beautiful blade decorated with jewels on the handle. Detailed enough that she could describe it and almost draw it. She never owned one. She'd never seen it in real life. And another girl on the other side of the couch that we were all sitting on and talking kind of got a little quiet. She had a knife that sounded pretty damn close to that, just sitting at her house. The exact thing. Unused, forgotten, and tucked away. We went to her house, I think, later that night or probably the next morning, I don't know, but we all made a little adventure to her house. And when she pulled it out, the one girl that was dreaming of that about shit herself. She's like, that is the one from my dream. Another one of us girls, see, I'm not mentioning names, and there's a good reason for that, and I'll kind of try to explain it later on. Well, that, and I don't want to throw anyone under the bus if they don't want it mentioned, you know what I mean? But another one of us girls started dreaming about a star, and at the points of every star were candles. I'm going to stop right here. Let me just say this. This was the late 90s. We didn't have internet. We had no idea about paganism. I was probably 20 at the oldest. Had no idea. Grew up in a Christian home, but we didn't really talk about religion. It was just implied that we were Christian. I didn't really know any of the symbolism, and it was the same with the other girls too. So that's why this is so wild. Another one just kept hearing voices. She kept hearing references to earth and fire, water, guardians, air, watchtowers, directions, words and concepts that we didn't study before, and it really just sounded pretty random. And the fifth girl, she just dreamt of a woman, a very powerful woman, a queen type woman, powerful, ancient, and just beautiful. Didn't know who she was. We didn't have a name. And actually, we never found out which goddess was calling us, but it was somebody very powerful. I don't know. And like I said, we did not have the internet. The internet was out, but I didn't have it in my house. It wasn't common. I know you youngsters would be like, what the hell? Seriously, it was not common. I didn't actually have my own computer at my house until early 2000s. At that point, I was very young, really broke, and I may have had a TV, but that was like the extent of my electronics. Oh, and I had a beeper, so I did have that. Oh, I'm aging myself. Anyways. All right, so since we didn't have the internet, we all just piled in the car and went to the library. And surprise, surprise, the library didn't really have what we were looking for. I didn't know what to look up. We didn't know what books to pull. We eventually found a metaphysical bookstore, And that started giving us a lot of our answers. All of us, we started reading and researching on our own, and then we'd get together like every day, every other day, and just compare notes. We're just trying to figure out what all the pieces meant. Little by little, a pattern did emerge. The staff, the athame, the star, the guardians, the goddess, the symbol all pointed toward a ritual. And that ritual kept appearing over and over throughout my dream. Eventually, we realized that all roads seemed to be leading toward one thing. We needed to do this ritual. It was our version of drawing down the moon. And for you out there who may not be familiar with the practice, drawing down the moon is one of the most sacred rites found in modern witchcraft traditions. At its heart, it involves opening yourself to the presence and energy of the goddess. It's powerful and beautiful, and quite frankly, it wasn't something young ladies should have been stumbling into accidentally through dream messages. Yet there we were. Eventually, we stopped questioning it. We gathered, we followed what we learned, what we saw in our dreams. We performed the ritual. And something happened. Something that we didn't really expect. And honestly, we didn't know what to expect. But it's crazy. A beam of light, I'm not kidding, seriously, a beam of light appeared to descend down from the sky and slowly makes its way toward the earth. And it didn't come down over us or over our pentagram made of salt or anything like that. It just came down after our ritual was over. Immediately after our ritual was over. Now, you can interpret that how you want to. Maybe it was atmospheric conditions. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe it was something spiritual. Maybe it was collective psychology. I honestly don't care what label gets attached to it. I know what I saw. More importantly, I know what 5 people saw. And the kicker is, I had friends who lived across town. The next morning, they called me and said, "Hey, did you see that light?" Now, take that what you will. I don't know. But that experience was profound and life-changing for me. It's one of those moments that burned itself into my memory forever. And because the universe apparently enjoys a sense of humor, we discovered that afterward, the salt that we used around the ritual, like we used it in a circle, we used it for, the pentagram, it absolutely annihilated the grass, killed it dead. And for years and years and years, it stayed dead. Nothing says successful magic working quite like explaining why a giant pentagram pattern appears on your lawn, right? And I'm sure the neighbors had questions, but I don't even care. The weirdest part happened afterward, though. Not during the ritual, not after, but us 5 girls that were so close, we drifted apart. Like, we immediately dispersed. Naturally, peacefully, no drama, no conflict, no arguments, nothing dramatic at all. Our time together drawn as friends was just simply over. I know, it sounds weird. Another one of those reasons I'm not mentioning names is, honestly, I don't remember them. Isn't that wild? It's like we came together for a reason. And it's like that reason had been fulfilled. Yeah, I thought about that so many times over the years. They say that some people enter our lives forever, but some only enter our lives for a season. And maybe some enter our lives for a single magical moment that changed everything. What happened between us 5 opened a door. Not because it gave me answers, because it gave me questions. And questions are dangerous things. Questions make you curious. They make you search. They make you grow. Questions make you challenge everything you've been taught. And that experience was the beginning of my path as a witch. Not because a goddess descended from heavens and handed me a membership card. Not because lightning struck. Not because I accidentally became all-knowing overnight. It was because something happened that I could not explain. And once that happens, it's very difficult to go back to pretending that the universe is simple. And that's where this ties directly into dream work, and the reason I wrote this episode. One of the reasons witches, shamans, healers, spiritual practitioners have all historically been so effective at dream interpretation isn't because we're psychic superheroes. It's because we pay attention. Most people will have a meaningful dream and then immediately forget it. A witch writes it down. A healer will study it. A shaman sits with it. A dream worker asks more questions. We're observers and pattern seekers. That's really the secret. Dream interpretation isn't about knowing. It's about noticing. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is assuming that every symbol has a universal meaning. The internet has made this problem even worse. So you dream about a dog. One website says it means loyalty. Another says protection. Another says friendship. And another says Mercury is in retrograde and your cousin secretly hates you. Okay, maybe not the last one, but the point is that symbols are personal. Context, emotion, experience all matter in deciphering dreams. Dream interpretation is not a multiple choice test. It's actually a conversation. If someone dreams of a dog and they spent their childhood being attacked by one, that symbol means something entirely different than it means for someone who grew up surrounded by beloved pets. The dream isn't speaking through a dictionary, it's speaking through your life. That's why experienced dream workers ask questions. How did you feel? Who stood out to you? What stood out to you? What emotions lingered after you woke up? What was happening in your life at the time? Dreams don't exist in a vacuum. They emerge from a living person with a unique story. Now let's talk about some of the symbols that appear across cultures over and over again. Water is one of the biggest ones. People dream about oceans, lakes, rivers. They dream about storms and floods and rain. Water often represents emotion because emotions behave exactly like water. Sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and sometimes just overwhelming no matter what. When someone tells me they dreamed about being swept away by a giant wave, I'm immediately curious about what emotional situation in their life feels overwhelming. The symbolism makes intuitive sense. Fire is another common dream symbol. Fire can destroy, but it can also purify, illuminate. Fire can be transformative. A single candle and a raging wildfire are both fires, yet they tell a completely different story. Dream work is the same way. Then we have snakes. Poor snaky snakes. Snakes have suffered from centuries of terrible public relations. Half the world immediately assumes snakes equal evil. Evil! Yet throughout countless magical traditions, snakes represent wisdom, healing, transformation, renewal, and even spiritual awakening. A snake sheds its skin. It becomes something new. And that's pretty powerful symbolism. Now, if the snake is actively trying to eat your face, that's a different conversation. But generally speaking, snakes deserve a better marketing team. And speaking of symbols, we have to talk about the house. Because houses show up constantly in dreams. And if you spend any amount of time studying dreams, sooner or later someone's going to tell you about the house. You know the one. The dream where you're walking through a home that somehow belongs to you, except it doesn't. The layout makes no sense. There's a staircase where there shouldn't be. The hallway keeps changing. Rooms you've never seen before. A hidden door behind another door. And a basement that stretches on forever. Think of the back rooms. And there's also that attic that's filled with random shit, right? And the dream is incredibly common. Many dream workers view houses as a symbolic representation of yourself. Now think about it. A house contains a lot of rooms. So do we. So there are parts of ourselves that we do show everybody. There are parts of ourselves reserved for family. Parts reserved for only close friends. Parts that we hide from the world. There's even parts of ourselves that we hide from ourselves. The attic is often associated with higher thinking and memory, spiritual insight, or old ideas. The basement frequently symbolizes the subconscious, things that we've buried beneath the surface. The hidden stuff, the things we'd rather not deal with, which explains why dream basements are almost always creepy as hell. One of the most common dreams that I've heard over the years goes something like this. I was in my childhood home and I found a room I never knew existed. If you've ever had the dream, congratulations. You're in excellent company. That particular dream often appears during periods of personal growth. The psyche is essentially saying, hey, there's more to you than you realize. Go explore, Dora. There's an undiscovered room inside yourself. And that, my friends, is one of the reasons dream work can be so damn powerful. Sometimes a dream isn't predicting the future. Sometimes it's introducing you to yourself. And now let's move on to recurring dreams. If you're having the same dream over and over again, your subconscious is trying very hard to get your attention. Whatever it is, the dream keeps returning because the conversation is not finished. And I've experienced recurring dreams during nearly every major transition in my life. And what's really cool is how often they disappear once the issue's been addressed. Almost like the dream says, "Finally, you got the message." Now let's talk about something that every witch should own, or even anyone who is trying to figure out their dreams, they should own this. A dream journal. I know. Everyone says, keep a journal. But it works. There's a reason dream workers have been recommending journals forever. Dreams disappear quickly. You think you're going to remember them, but you're not going to. You need to write it down immediately, even if it's nonsense. Especially if it's nonsense. Dreams often make more sense later than they do at that moment. The longer you keep a dream journal, the more patterns emerge and themes and symbols repeat. Entire storylines sometimes continue over months or even years. And that's when the dream work really becomes interesting, because suddenly you're not examining individual dreams. You're examining a relationship, a conversation that's been unfolding over time. This is one reason witches have historically been good at dream interpretation. We pay attention to patterns. Moon phases, seasons, cycles. We're collectors of patterns. Now that dream, that feels just different. And you know exactly what I mean. The dream that feels more real than waking life does. The dream that stays with you for years. The dream that makes you sit upright in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning staring into the darkness. Some people call them visionary dreams. Others call them visitation dreams, prophetic dreams. One of the most fascinating things about dream history is how often people separated by centuries and continents describe the same kind of experiences. A guide, a teacher, a deity, an ancestor, a messenger, a warning. And now before anyone starts assuming that every unusual dream is divine communication, let's talk about one of the most important magical skills you'll ever develop. It's called discernment. I know I spoke about this before. Discernment keeps witches out of trouble, because not every coincidence is a sign, and not every dream is a prophecy. Sometimes your brain is simply doing brain things, and brains are weird. But every once in a while, a dream stands apart, and it does feel different. But now we're stepping into deeper water. This is the part of dream work that gets people excited and nervous. These dreams that don't feel like ordinary dreams. The dreams that feel like encounters. Again, you don't have to believe that every strange dream is a supernatural event. You don't have to surrender your critical thinking skills. And actually, the best witches I know are curious. They're also open-minded and skeptical. All at the same time, because it's a balancing act. And that being said, visitation dreams are among the most commonly reported spiritual experiences in human history. A loved one who has passed away appears. They seem different from ordinary dream characters. They're more real. The dream often feels unusually vivid. The colors are sharper, the emotions are stronger, and the memory remains clear for years to come. Many people receive messages like, "Hey, I'm okay. Don't worry about me." Or, "I love you. Everything is fine." Simple things, comforting things, things that bring healing. One of the things I appreciate most about witchcraft is that it does leave room for mystery. Because in today's world, everything has to be labeled or categorized or explained. And don't get me wrong, science is wonderful. I love science. But there are still experiences that live in the realm of mystery, and, well, dreams are one of them. Maybe one day we're going to understand everything about them, but maybe we won't. Until then, I'm perfectly comfortable saying, I have no idea. Can dreams predict the future? The annoying answer is, sometimes, maybe, perhaps, possibly. And thank you for attending my TED Talk. Seriously, though, this is one of the oldest beliefs in human history. Ancient cultures around the world recorded prophetic dreams. Kings consulted dream interpreters. Generals delayed battles because of dreams. Entire civilizations treated dreams as a legitimate source of guidance. Were they always correct? Hell no. Humans have been misinterpreting things since the beginning of time. We're just talented that way. But there are enough documented stories throughout history to make the subject difficult to dismiss entirely. I think the subconscious noticed things long before the conscious mind catches up. Tiny little details, patterns, warnings, information that slips beneath our awareness during waking life. Then during sleep, the mind assembles those little pieces into stories and symbols. But most dreams, they're seriously just conversations, not predictions. They're processing and healing and reflecting. Some of the most important dreams you'll ever have simply help you understand yourself. And that's magical enough, right? A lack of explanation doesn't automatically equal a lack of reality. Now, am I saying dreams always prove to be supernatural phenomena? Nope. I'm saying dreams remain one of the least understood aspects of human experience. Because mystery keeps us curious. Curiosity keeps us learning. Learning keeps us growing. And growth is one of the central goals in every spiritual path worth walking. Speaking of growth, let's talk about dream guides. Many dream workers report recurring figures who appear throughout their lives. It could be a teacher. It could be a family member, sometimes an animal, or a figure whose identity remains unknown. The details vary. These figures often appear during major life transitions. They offer guidance, they ask questions, they provide insight. What matters is the impact, the wisdom, the growth. I want to leave you with a thought. Dream work is about relationship. Relationship with yourself, relationship with intuition, relationship with mystery, relationship with spirit. It's about listening. It's about really listening. Because in a world filled with noise, dreams remain one of the few places where the soul can still whisper. And sometimes the whisper changes everything. So again, this episode is going to be in 2 parts, so come back next week for part 2. All right, now it's time for the listener questions and answers. Today's listener question comes from Angie, who emailed me at acronepodcast@gmail.com. And Angie says, "Hello, my name is Angie. You can use my name since it's common and it's a nickname anyway. By the way, happy Pride Month. I saw your video on TikTok inviting us to email you questions regarding dreams. And that's so perfect because I got a question that's been really fucking me up. And I would love your thoughts on it. I recently started dating a really cool gal. It's still new, but things have been going so, with lots of O's, great. But ever since we started dating, I've been having the same pretty unsettling dream over and over again. In this dream, everything seems normal at first. Well, as normal as dreams go anyway, LOL. I'm usually walking somewhere that I've been before, or at least it feels like I've been there before. But then I start to get all nervous for no reason. And not just nervous, but kind of scared shitless. I keep looking over my shoulder like I'm being watched. And every time I turn around, there's a woman floating in the background behind me, staring at me with unblinking eyes. She never talks. She hasn't got closer so far. She's just there, floating, staring at me. I always wake up rattled, to say the least, and it throws my day off until I can shake the dream. Since the dream started around the same time that my love life has improved, I keep wondering if it's some kind of omen. Is the floating abomination a warning? Is it something about this relationship? Or am I just overthinking per the usual, since that seems to be my MO? Love your podcast, and I appreciate the answer if you pick mine for the episode. Thank you, Angie." Hello, Angie. First of all, congratulations on your new love. Opening your heart to someone new is one of the bravest acts of magic that we can do. It requires vulnerability, trust, willingness to step into the unknown. So on to your dream. When witches look at dreams, we don't usually start by asking, is this a prophecy? We start by asking, what is this dream trying to tell me? The floating woman may not even be an omen about your girlfriend at all. In dream symbolism, a mysterious woman often represents an aspect of the dreamer, the intuition, the shadow self, old wounds, or even just fear. The fact that she remains in the background is pretty interesting, though. She's not attacking you. She's not chasing you. She's not interfering with anything. She's just simply there, looking at you. And I know that sounds creepy. The thing that stands out to me, though, it's really not the woman. It's the fact that you're constantly looking over your shoulder. And that tells me that there might be a part of you that is expecting something to go wrong. When we've been hurt before, or just disappointed, or judged, or just made to feel unsafe in love, we can carry that into new relationships. Sometimes our hearts move forward and our fears lag behind, and it just whispers into your ear saying, be careful, don't get hurt again, don't trust. But dreams have a funny way of turning those whispers, into characters. They bring it to life. So rather than asking whether the floating woman is warning you about your girlfriend, I wonder if she's asking you to turn around and face her. Who is she? What does she want? I wonder what would happen in the dream if you just stopped running and just turn around and ask her, what the hell do you want? Why are you here? And you might discover she's not a harbinger of doom at all. She just may be a guardian of an old wound. She may be your intuition asking to be heard. Or she just might be the embodiment of uncertainty that comes with falling in love. And that's normal. But remember this, fear's not always a warning. Sometimes fear is just fear. Not every strange dream is an omen. The most reliable sign whether a relationship is healthy isn't found in a dream. It's found in how you feel when you're awake. Are you respected? Are you valued? Do you feel safe just being yourself? Does your spirit expand rather than shrink when she's around? And if the answer is yes, don't let one mysterious dream character convince you that happiness is something to fear. Instead, light a little candle before bed and say, may dreams reveal the truth, not fear. May I see clearly what serves me and release what doesn't. Then go to sleep. And if that floating woman is still there, perhaps just greet her like an old friend. Sometimes she figures that frightening us in dreams are simply just a way of getting your attention. So thank you again for writing in. May your dreams bring wisdom, and may your new love bring you joy. If you out there listening have a question that you would like me to answer, please email me at acronepodcast@gmail.com. And now it's time for our guest spot. Today's guest spot, we're going to call him Dreamwalker. Listen to his account. He can control his dreams. He knows what he's going to dream when he goes there, and he's looking for a fun adventure. He is one of the most prolific dreamwalkers that I have ever met. And I've spoken to him before in the past, and he has some wild stories. I love listening to these stories when he tells me about his dreams, because they're not really just dreams. They're adventures. Without further ado, here's Dreamwalker.
The dream realm, or the dream as I call it, is very special to me. It's, I want to say, events that I look forward to every night when I lay my head down to sleep. When I sleep, I'm able to basically choose what I want to dream. A lot of people don't really understand, but I'll put it like this. It's more of like picking a flower in a universal field. When I pick this flower, if the person in the flower I pick interests me, I sort of jump in and connect with them. Or a different world, like a different planet. It's crazy. Most time I vibe with them and feel what they feel. Experience what they experience, basically. Like a movie or a roller coaster. And what they feel, it feels like not just a movie, actually. More like moving and swaying when listening to music. I try to stay in rhythm with them. And sometimes when I feel really in sync, it feels like, you know how you have a random emotion or sensation, you get that sensation of inspiration or, the feeling of happiness or anger. When I'm dreaming that intensely, I feel like I'm the person in that dream, as if I lived their life or gained, that personality that they have. It feels like I'm them, and I do the things that they do. Sometimes, it's not even like main character energy if you say something like that. It could be just something random, cooking or cleaning. Sometimes I have grand adventures. Sometimes it's just another day. It's amazing to be able to just dream that way. To finish your day off and be someone else. Sometimes I wonder when we pass away, do our consciousness travel through the dream to be reborn, reincarnated?
That is just amazing. To have a choose-your-own-adventure type nighttime, I would be looking forward to sleep every single night. What a truly amazing gift that he has. Thank you so much, Dreamwalker. If you out there would like to have a special guest spot on an upcoming episode, please email me at acronepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for walking this path with me, and thank you for keeping a little magic alive in a world that desperately needs it. Now, to send you off into the night the proper way, here's tonight's Crone's blessing. May moonbeams light the road you tread, and wisdom dance around your bed. May dreams bring answers, signs, and sight, while spirit guards you through the night. May symbols speak and guides draw near. May truth be whispered crystal clear. May magic flow where dream winds roam, till morning safely brings you home. Until next time, keep one foot in this world, one foot in wonder, and listen closely to what your dreams are trying to tell you. See you next week here at Anonymous Crone.